The Rapsodo MLM2Pro was released about 3 years ago, and it's become one of the most popular launch monitors under $1,000. In that time, it's also added new features like additional data points and an official connection to GSPro simulation software. Now, the MLM2Pro has some features that honestly blew me away and some others that left me a little disappointed. I also tested it against my Foresight GC Quad to see if all the accuracy claims actually hold up. Let's start with the physical unit itself. It doesn't really look like a typical launch monitor to me, which is usually like a big thick tower or some kind of like flat panel. This thing is obviously more of a like skinny cylinder that sits on a tripod, and honestly it looks a little funny to me. But once I got it out of the box, it actually made a little bit more sense. The unit detaches from the tripod, and it actually stores really nicely in a small carrying case, and it really makes it easy to just throw in your bag and hit the road. On the front, you've got two cameras, which we'll get into a little bit later, but the tripod also has these notches, which you can rest a phone or a tablet in, depending on how you're gonna set it up. Now, it comes with that nice travel case, a USB charging cable, and one sleeve of RPT balls, either Titleist Pro V1s or Callaway Chrome Tours. Now, those RPT balls have a special dot pattern that allow the MLM2Pro to measure spin and spin axis. Now, to set it up, you're gonna place it about 6.5 to 8.5 feet behind the ball, aimed down your target line. If you're indoors hitting into a net or a screen, you're gonna want about 8 feet from the ball to the screen at a minimum. When you turn it on, the app is gonna walk you through how to set it up and a connection to your device. You can connect directly to the MLM2Pro's Wi-Fi, or you can connect it to your home network so that other devices on your home network can find it. The MLM2Pro uses Doppler radar along with the cameras. Normally with radar indoors, you have to worry about interference, but I didn't see any mention of that in the manual. This could be interference from big electronics like air conditioners or things like that, but I personally didn't run into any issues. Now, at a minimum, you're gonna need about 14.5 feet of depth to use this thing indoors, probably a little more. Now, in total, the MLM2Pro provides 15 data points, and I really like that Rapsodo clearly shows which ones are measured. They've added some club data like club path and angle of attack, but there's a slightly smaller hitting zone if you want to get that club data. I found that the club data hitting zone was still big enough that it didn't really affect me. I just had to be aware that that club data zone sits a little bit more to the right. Overall, the data covers everything most golfers are gonna need. More expensive launch monitors are gonna give you more data, things like face angle and face impact location, but honestly, club path and angle of attack already go a long way toward improving your swing. But one important note on the data, you are gonna need the RPT balls to get spin rate and spin axis. If you're out at the driving range using regular balls, you're not going to see that data. Now, the Rapsodo app has a lot of features, but I started out in the practice mode, and this is really well done. You get a split screen with your video and dispersion, and after each shot, your data pops up full screen automatically, which makes it really easy to read quickly between shots. Now, the video side is where this thing really shines. First, you've got shot vision, which captures your swing from down the line using one of the built-in cameras. You can also pair it with your phone for another angle if you want. The video quality is actually really good, but I'm not a huge fan of the angle because it's coming from the ground level. Still, it's good enough to see what's going on, and like the saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words, the same is true with video and your swing. Now, the other option is the impact vision, and that's the feature that really blew me away. This is gonna capture impact at 240 frames per second. The slow motion is incredibly clear. Even though I don't love the angle, the quality is so good that you can clearly see a heel versus a toe strike. And outdoors with grass and dirt flying everywhere, it still looked super sharp. I could even read the text on the club head. For a $700 launch monitor, that is seriously impressive. Now, the range mode is basically a virtual driving range where you get a ball tracer and you can aim at a target if you want. You can also display a few more data points, I think up to 8 on this range version, and the graphics are surprisingly solid. Now, the app will even check your device and adjust the graphics accordingly, which is a nice touch. Rapsodo says they have over 30,000 courses, and they do. You can play different formats like stroke play, scramble, or best ball, and you can use your phone or your tablet or you can plug it into a projector and use a full simulator setup like I have here. But this is where things fell off a little bit for me. While the course layouts are accurate, the graphics are a little disappointing. Most of the courses look pretty similar. They're very basic with a plain basic background and nothing very immersive. I kind of think of it like what you would see on a GPS golf watch. It's functional, but not very realistic. So while playing these courses is great for practice, especially if you're playing your home course, the fairways and the bunkers and all those things are going to be accurately placed, but it's not the full detailed simulator experience like I would hope for. Now, real quick, if you're looking to build a home simulator like mine, I recommend checking out Carl's Place. They have everything you need, from enclosures, screens, mats, projectors, launch monitors. You can even pick up an MLM2Pro simulator package. Now, this is not a sponsored video, but I do have an affiliate link and an exclusive discount code to Carl's Place down in the video description. If you use that to make a purchase, it's going to support this channel at no extra cost to you. Now, continuing through some of the other features in the app, there's a closest to the pin mode. This is actually pretty cool. You choose a golf course and it builds a closest to the pin game using all of the par 3s from that course. You can select the number of players and the number of attempts and whether you want it scored by the best ball or the total distance from the pin across all of your attempts. I thought this was really fun because you can create almost an unlimited number of closest to the pin games just by going to different courses. You're not hitting to the same static targets over and over again. Now, if you're looking for another great way to practice, you can check out the target range. The target range offers different tee boxes and up to 72 different target distances, plus 4 fairways. You can set up your practice to hit targets within like specific distance ranges and choose how many shots you want to hit to each target and really customize the practice session however you want it. It's going to track your proximity to the target along with your hits and misses, so you can actually measure how you're performing. This is a great way to dial in your distances, whether you want to work on something specific like your wedges between 50 and 100 yards, or just cover a really wide range of shots. It's also a little bit more of a free-form practice compared to something like a closest to the pin game. They also have a speed training feature, which allows you to connect to different speed training systems. So if you're using something like the Stack or another swing speed training system, you can use the MLM2Pro to measure your speed during those sessions. Outside of the app, they also have a feature called rCloud. And with rCloud, every shot and session is automatically saved and uploaded to the cloud. And that includes your shot videos and your impact videos. They also make it really easy to export those videos for social media or anything else you want to use them for. You can also export your session data as a CSV file if you want to dig into those numbers or do something custom with it. I really like that they included this cloud feature, but what I like even more is that the videos are included with it. It would have been easy for them to skip that because of like the storage size of the videos, but being able to go back and watch swings from weeks ago is incredibly valuable. Honestly, it's even more valuable than just going back and looking at old numbers. Now, I mainly use my launch monitors indoors in my simulator, but I did want to take the MLM2Pro out to the actual driving range to see how it would perform outdoors. And I found that it's very easy to transport. Like I thought, you just throw it in your golf bag with this little case and you're good to go. At the range, I found that the practice screen was the best option. It gives you most of what you're wanting when you're hitting balls, and setup was simple using the tripod. No need to bring anything extra to prop up your tablet or phone. You can just use the tripod. Now, the one thing that I did notice was the alignment was a little tricky at first. It took me a couple of tries to get it just right, and trying to use the video on the iPad was a little bit tough from the glare on the screen. So I ended up just relying mostly on the little notch or line on the top of the unit itself and lining it up with an alignment stick that I placed on the ground. It only took me a couple tries and I got it dialed in. Now, I did hit several irons and I only had to move the MLM2Pro once when my divot pattern got a little bit too wide and it stopped picking up the club data. Now, the range that I was at was using tailor-made limited flight balls, but every shot still tracked really well. The shot shapes looked correct, and when I reviewed the shot videos with the tracer overlay, they matched what I was seeing in real life. One downside though is that since I wasn't using RPT balls, I didn't get spin data. I don't always really rely on the spin numbers, but I would have liked to see spin axis, especially since it was a really windy day. It It would have helped me determine whether the curve that I was seeing was from my swing or from the wind. Overall though, it was a really easy experience to bring the MLM2 Pro to the range, set it up quickly, and have it track shots and record video that gets uploaded to the cloud for review later. And again, the impact video outdoors looks incredible. I wasn't sure how I was gonna handle the dirt, the grass, and the debris like flying around, but it still looked super crisp and clear. Now, if you're looking for a better course play experience than what's included in the Rapsodo app, there are some third-party options, and one of them is Awesome Golf. Awesome Golf comes with a 6-month trial with your Rapsodo as long as your Rapsodo Premium membership is active. We'll talk about that membership a little bit later. Awesome Golf has apps for iOS and Android, but it also has a PC version, which is what I used in my simulator. It includes multiple driving ranges, plus a lot of fun games. It's got closest to the pin, long drive, target golf, skills challenges, and they also have some really unique game modes like Wrecking Ball, where you blow up structures with the golf ball. Then there's Get in the Hole, where your ball creates sinkholes that the buildings fall into. There's Boat Blast, where you hit balls at boats and try to blow them up. And then there's Super Splash, where you chip into these targets. These are definitely more entertainment focused and would be great for kids or casual play. Awesome Golf also has course play, and they've got 4 9-hole fantasy courses and several real 18-hole courses. I actually preferred the graphics in Awesome Golf over the graphics in the Rapsodo app course play. It just looked better and felt more polished. Awesome Golf is a separate subscription, and they have options for $15 a month, $160 a year, or $350 for a lifetime license. Another option is E6 Connect. This is an older software, and while the graphics look a little bit dated, they're still actually more detailed and better than Rapsodo's course play, in my opinion. E6 also has a new version called Apex, which has far better graphics, but I don't have any hands-on experience with Apex yet, but it's definitely worth checking out. Their E6 pricing is gonna range roughly from $150 to $600 a year, depending on the package that you want. Now, if you want my recommendation for third-party software, I would go with GSPro. GSPro is now officially supported with the MLM2 Pro as long as you have the Rapsodo Premium membership. To connect to GSPro, you do have to open the Rapsodo app first to authenticate your membership, which is not my favorite process. It adds a whole kind of extra step requiring you to use a different device since GSPro runs on a gaming PC. So the process is you open the Rapsodo app on your phone or iPad, you connect to the MLM2 Pro, then you authenticate for GSPro, then you go into GSPro and connect. It's a little bit clunky, but it works. Now GSPro is gonna give you over 2,000 courses. You can use 1080p or 4K graphics depending on your gaming PC. You've got features like on-course practice where you can drop a ball anywhere on any course and practice from there. You've also got online play where you can jump into games with other people that you've maybe met on Discord and play matches against them or with them. And you can use completely different launch monitors, which is a really cool feature. GSPro costs $250 per year if you want to check it out. Now, one of the biggest downsides when using any of this third-party software is that the MLM2 Pro does not transfer over the club data. So things like club path and angle of attack and club speed are not gonna show up in this third-party software, whether it's GSPro or Awesome Golf or E6. That is definitely a bummer. However, there is something to look forward to. Rapsodo is currently working on their own PC software with improved graphics, and I actually saw a preview of it at the PGA show. The graphics look really, really good, exactly what you'd expect from a high-end simulator software. And of course, I don't know this to be true, but I would assume that since it's Rapsodo's own software, it will include full club data support. Hopefully, we're gonna see it released by the end of 2026. We'll have to wait and see. So with all of that said, how accurate is the MLM2 Pro? To find out, I compared it directly to my Foresight GC Quad, which is widely considered the gold standard for launch monitor accuracy. Here's what I found out. The carry distance with the Rapsodo is slightly longer with irons and slightly shorter with the driver. We're talking about 3 yards on average, maybe with the irons. Spin rate between these two is extremely close, about as close as I've ever seen between 2 launch monitors. Spin axis is a little bit milder with the MLM2 Pro, which means it's gonna show a tiny bit less curve to the ball. And the club data, like the club path and angle of attack, was consistently off a couple of degrees. But always off in the same direction. And honestly, consistency matters more than a perfect match. And when I look at the actual ball flight, it definitely passed the eye test. The MLM2 Pro showed essentially the same result as the GC Quad, and that's exactly what you want. Now let's talk about pricing. The MLM2 Pro costs $699. On top of that, there is the premium membership, which is priced at $199 a year, $329 for 2 years, or $599 for a lifetime license. And honestly, you're gonna need the premium membership. Now, without the premium membership, you're only gonna get that one practice mode. You're also not gonna get any spin data, no club data, and no impact video. You're also not gonna be able to connect to any third-party software. Fortunately though, the shot video, which is that full swing video, will still come through. So without the premium membership, you're getting a much more basic launch monitor without all the bells and whistles. Now, if you go with the lifetime option, you're looking at $1,300 total with no continuing subscription. So what stood out to me the most about the MLM2 Pro? Well, for me, the biggest standout features were first, the video, both the shot vision and the impact vision. The quality is incredible for this price point, and the fact that it automatically uploads to the cloud makes it even better. I love super easy video integrated with a launch monitor. Second, I would say the practice mode user interface. Having your video and dispersion and data all on one screen and automatically updating is just really well done. Plus, I love the automatic full screen data view that pops up between each shot. I love how it makes it low effort to get all the information from the launch monitor. I guess the third thing would be the accuracy and how extremely close it was to the GC Quad. But more important than being close was how consistent it was. Now, there are definitely some drawbacks. One is that you do need the RPT balls for full spin data. However, with launch monitors at this price point, they pretty much all require some type of marked ball for accurate spin data. So it's kind of what you would expect. But I should point out that those RPT balls, although they do include a sleeve of 3 balls with the launch monitor, when you go to replace them, they are about $70 per dozen. So you might want to factor that in as those dots wear off when you use a ball over and over again. Another downside was that the Rapsodo course graphics are a little underwhelming, like I've talked about. I think it's fantastic that there are over 30,000 courses, and that means that pretty much most likely your home course is going to be in there like mine was. From a practice standpoint, that's great. But like I said, it's a little underwhelming, a little bit of a bummer there. Another downside is that fact that no club data passes through to any third-party software makes it kind of a bummer as well. If you decide that you want to use the MLM2 Pro with another app or software like GSPro or Awesome Golf as kind of like your main app, that's great. But unfortunately, you're not getting everything that you possibly could out of the MLM2 Pro if you're using a third-party app or software. And the last downside is that there is no putting capability with the MLM2 Pro, and it kind of struggles with very short chip shots when you're around the green. So those are really going to matter if you're wanting to use this for a simulator experience. You're not going to be able to putt, and if you get kind of like, let's say inside 8 or 10 yards green side and you've got a chip, it's probably gonna miss some of those chips. And it can be a bummer when you have to just chip way past the hole because that's as far as you have to chip it for it to get picked up. So if you're planning on doing a lot of course play like with GSPro, that's gonna be a little bit of a bummer. Now you can do something called webcam putting that's kind of DIY. You can just Google like MLM2 Pro webcam putting and you'll find what you need in order to set that up. But that is something you'll have to figure out on your own, not through Rapsodo. Now, after using the MLM2 Pro, I think it's a great option for someone who wants a really strong practice tool that can also work in a home setup. It's super portable and packed with features and delivers really solid accuracy for the price point. If you want to pick one up from Rapsodo, you can use the link down in the video description and it will help support this channel at no additional cost to you. I've also got some comparisons coming against the Square launch monitor and the FlightScope Mevo Gen 2, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss those. All right guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.